All right, folks, so thank you and welcome to our Open Education Week. We continue to truck along with all the amazing open education themed events and activities that we have going on. We're very fortunate today to have Brenda Forland, who's mathematics faculty at Red Rocks Community College. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for inviting me.
Appreciate it so much. I'm just going to introduce Brenda, and then I'm going to kick it over to her, and we'll do our best to keep an eye out for chats. Feel free to pipe up, I think, if you have questions throughout the session. But Brenda is currently math faculty at Red Rocks Community College. She has a master's in math from Montana State University. And after arriving at Red Rocks in 2013, she's been on a mission to reduce student costs through implementing, designing high-quality OER resources, for which she has led multiple grants. Right on. Woo! Love to hear it. Brenda is a 2018-2020 endowed teaching chair at Red Rocks Community College and the 2016 Warthout Teaching with Technology Award recipient for the Colorado Community College System. Thank you for being here so much. I'm going to slide over to the other side of the table and kick it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Spencer. That's a great introduction. Thanks for hosting me here too as well. You guys can't see, but they have an awesome view here. So if you ever get to visit CDHE, I highly recommend it. So thanks for coming today. I appreciate it. As Spencer said, I'm a huge fan of OER. A lot of reasons for it, but one, just I love to reduce student costs, help save them money. And then two, just because I get to bring in exactly what I want, how I want, and the highest quality resources that I think are out there too as well. So thanks for joining me today. Feel free to interrupt me at any time with questions that you have. I'll try to catch them. If I don't, Spencer will probably catch them for me. So here we go. If I can get it to click. Ha, got it. I win. Sweet. So this is what we're going to talk about today. Say a little bit about myself real quick, then I want to give you a tour of what is WeBWorK and you get a chance to kind of see what it is, what it can do. And then I want to talk to you about the current uses we have at Red Rocks and CTD and the future uses that we're thinking we're going to do. And then we'll talk about hosting options. How can you bring WeBWorK to your campus, which is the final thought of how do you actually bring it to your campus too as well, which I think is kind of the main point of this talk. How do you get it to your own campus? So who am I? Spencer did a good job of that already, but I am a math faculty. I'm also the department chair. I'm also the WeBWorK admin. I just love to wear a lot of hats, apparently, at my school, which is Red Rocks Community College. That's my email, so if you have more questions after this, please do feel free to reach out to me whenever you want. And I had to put a picture of our campus. That's our Lakewood campus. We have another campus up in Arvada, but we're right in the foothills of the Colorado Rockies in Lakewood, Colorado, western side of the Denver metro, so beautiful place to be. Okay. What is WeBWorK and a tour of it? So WeBWorK is an online OER, so free assessment tool for math. I say assessment tool because it has the ability for students to answer questions on it. If you want to turn it into a content delivery system by embedding videos and other things, you can too, but out of the box, it is an assessment tool. You can use it for any subject other than math too as well. We have our physics department that uses it, biology is coming on too as well. Anything with math, you can use it for. They have over 30,000 problems available already on their library. So if you don't want to create your own content, you have things there for you to go. The first 3 years I used WeBWorK, I didn't write a single question. I used everything on the open problem library is what they call it. So that is growing over time. When I first started about 7 years ago now with WeBWorK, they only had over 20,000 problems. So it's continuing to grow as more and more time goes on. You can create your own content, which is what I love to do on it. So whatever you can imagine, you can build on WeBWorK. So it really allows a lot of flexibility for the instructors too as well. It's funded through the MAA and the NSF, and it was originally created back in the 1990s, I want to say, by Rochester, New York, University out there. A couple of great faculty started this. So that's a brief thought of what it is. Let's hop into a tour for it. So first I'm going to show you what it looks like from the student perspective. So if I head on over here, you log in. And I will say that we have something called student numbers. They're called S numbers. So that S 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Whatever you would use on your own campus is essentially what I would say that you should use for yours. But we have student identifiers. So I want to show you this view first because this is the main theme of WeBWorK. When you first install it, you can see some WeBWorK logos, MAA logos. It's pretty. It's blue. But I will say what we have done, because it's OER and you can change anything you want, is we made it Red Rocks themed. So our students are really getting the Red Rocks experience from the faculty, from the school perspective. I never, ever get the complaint anymore of why did I pay all this money and I'm just, using publisher content that's not my faculty and not what they created. So I never get that concern anymore from students. So you can change it to whatever theme you want. We're Red Rocks, they get us. So let's hop into, I put in a couple of homework sets in here too. But if you notice also on the side here, you can customize it to whatever you want. So I have links to our math lab and like our whole tutoring center, but you can build whatever you want in there as well too. So anything is changeable. It's just a question of how hard it's going to be to change it or how easy it's going to be to change it. Some things are actually incredibly easy. So here's what I mentioned by you can turn it into a content delivery system. So on the right-hand side, you can see we loaded a bunch of links to our videos. So first one. Cool. First one up here is from one of our faculty, Craig. Then there's a video from me. And these are some questions we built that are related to the OpenStax text. So I also loaded in the OpenStax text videos that they have at the end of the chapters because I noticed students were using them. They're awesome. So when we put them in the actual homework, they notice them a bit more. If you don't like them there, you can put them directly into homework problems. So if you really want right just in time experience with the student to watch a video and then answer a question about it, you can do that too as well in WeBWorK. It's just a preference of where you want to put stuff. So other thing I want to talk about is the ability WeBWorK has. The thing I like about it is it was written by math people, so they understand what students are going to put in. They understand that a formula is a thing. So if you think about, if I submit this answer, you guys will know it's wrong, but one of the things it does for the students is it can typeset. So if students, that are learning how to use parentheses, they can look at this and go, oh, that's not what I meant to input at all. And they can go back here, put the parentheses around where they wanted to put it, submit it, and then they'll get an answer of, yay, you got it correct. But what I really, really, really like about WeBWorK is the fact that it can understand that there are multiple ways to input an answer. So if I instead put it like that, I get a message that says it's equivalent to the one you just got. So it can accept multiple formats. 16 is the same as 4 squared, which is huge in terms of students. I don't want a student sitting at home, they're putting in 0.5x, but the computer thinks it should be 1/2x, and they're, frustrated that they understand, like, I thought I had it, why don't I have it? WeBWorK won't do that to a student. It accepts multiple equivalent answers, unless you don't want it to, because sometimes that's really important. Like if you think about a difference quotient, you really want them to put in the simplified version of it. So you can handle that on the back end of the code, but know that it has that flexibility to do what you want. The other thing it has is the show me another button, which I really like for students. So all these problems, or most of them I should say, have random number generators in there. So if you click show me another, the student gets another version of the question, and they can just keep clicking as many times as they want, dependent upon what you set up in WeBWorK. You can choose how many times they see it, when do they see it, all sorts of stuff like that. But it really helps students get that extra practice in there too as well, which I really, really, really appreciate. Okay. Other thing, help links. So as students are learning how to input answers, you can see that on all of our questions we put those help formulas. A lot of them in the OPL have them too as well. So how do I input pi? How do I input a square root? If you also want, there's a little button here that'll bring up for students that will help them with figuring out how do I do a fraction? How do I do a square root? How do I do those types of things? I don't turn those on for algebra on up, but they are there if you want that feature too as well. They can also email the instructor right from every single question. They can type in, oh, I have lots of questions. I tell my students, what did you try? What did you do? Usually I get a much more coherent email than that one, but I then get a link directly to the question they're working on with their specific sets of numbers. So it really is a nice communication for them to be able to get to me and how they want. Other type of thought on these. So let's say, for example, on this question, this is asking for the x-intercept. So those need to actually be points. And a lot of students will think, well, maybe I'll put the input as just the zeros instead. So there are these messages in WeBWorK that says, well, your first value isn't a point, it looks like a real number. So it helps nudge those students that are kind of out. Maybe they're on the right track, but they're the wrong type of critter. Like if the answer is a function and they put in a number, it'll give them that type of hit too as well. So know also that you can change all of these messages to whatever you want it to say to your students. I haven't worked with that yet, but I know it's possible, and I have a colleague at PCD who's been working on that too as well. So you can change this to whatever you want. You can have messages pop up on questions, not pop on questions, but whatever you want to have happen. The other thing I like about it is, depending on how you code it too, so this is a question about zeros and its multiplicities. And a lot of math platforms out there, so you have to put in the smallest zero first. Well, you can see the order I put them in. I put them in any order, and it says, yeah, sure, that's fine as long as things match up. Say instead I put them in a different order. So the 0 of 0 has a multiplicity of 3, and the 0 of 7 had a multiplicity of 2. It'll give me the exact same feedback. So you're focused so much more on the math as opposed to just trying to get it in the way the system wanted you to do that. So I really appreciate that about WeBWorK. Other things you can do with WeBWorK, oh, no, here's another one where you could put it in the other order. I could put b to the k over here and 6 over here, and it would still accept it just fine. Other things you can do, though, we embedded Desmos right into WeBWorK. So if you want your students to have graphing capabilities, they have the full power of Desmos in any question that you may want to put in there. So we use this a lot for helping students with, if I could actually type right, that would help. With investigating what are the zeros, what's the end behavior. This is an algebra class, but you have all the power that you have of Desmos in any question you want to if you embed Desmos into there. And it's nice because Desmos is free and powerful, so I have a full suite of, I don't need my students to have a calculator. I don't need them to have any of those resources. It's all free to them, especially nice for a lot of low-income students, which we have a lot of on our campus too as well. Other things you can do, you can link to other external things. So when I'm working with systems with my students, I like them to have a reduced row echelon calculator. So I just linked it to this one that I found out on the web. I really liked it, and they can work on it there again. They don't have to have a calculator. It's all right there in WeBWorK for them. You can build tables. And here's a fun one. So we built the question with this. The crew of them that were coding put their names in it. So James put in his name, a he, and a his. The entire crew was all men except for me. And so I was like, I want my name in there. So I figured out a way with strings to put in Brenda, and that would also change to she and her. So you can do a lot of variability with strings too as well if you want to get in depth with those types of things. Heading over to trig. Let's see, what do we got in the trig section? So here's some pretty cool graphs that I built. I'm pretty excited about these ones. So you talk about vectors in trig, is vector u, vector b. So a lot of times it's hard on the online platforms. How do you do that? So on this question, we wanted to say which one's u plus b, which one's u minus b, which one's 2u. So on this one, I can see that down here, u is in red. So 2u is this one right here. That's option C. If I hit show me another, let's see. Now you can see 2u is option B. So it has the variability that you don't even have to have, the answer is always B, even though it looks a little different every time. No, you can move things around wherever you want. You don't have to worry about your students, just getting credit because they copied what their friend did. I can encourage my students to work together heavily, but they also have to get their own insights and question, which I really, really, really like. It helps them build those relationships while still not just copying. You can embed images into WeBWorK. So this is the image that we then had the variable things that went through. We, made the ranges on what the random number they would pull look roughly like that every single time, or you can put in fixed ones. This was a fixed graph, but we just chose to vary the distance that they gave down there. But you can embed whatever images you want into WeBWorK too as well. Another nice thing about WeBWorK, so for example, in this question, this is asking what is the cosine of theta equal to the square root of 3 over 2? In the 0 to 2 pi window, well, we know that there's two possible options, but a lot of times students forget that. So here's another nice message. They say, well, there should be more numbers in your list. So it gives those students that hint of like, yes, 50%, you're on the right track, you're going the right direction, but there's still more for you to do. So those nice messages really, really help the students that I think too as well. Oh, here's another thing I want to say. So for example, if you wanted to find the exact value of a trigonometric function, I really don't want the student to be able to just type in tangent of pi over 4. So this is a message I should change because it doesn't make much sense to the student. I haven't done that yet. It makes a lot of sense to somebody who's coding questions. But you can, this is an example of when I said if you don't want it to accept all types of possible ways the same thing, you can absolutely turn that off so that it will only accept the actual simplified value on it too as well, which is important depending on what you're looking for the students to get. Other thing I just want to kind of mention from the student perspective, I really like how clean and clear and simple this user interface is for the students. They tend not to get confused. They know where things are and pick up on it really too as well. So let me show you from the instructor side what it looks like, because there's more fun stuff for the instructors. Let me log in as me. Woo, sweet. So you can see I got a lot more stuff going on here. I can download hard copies too for students. I didn't mention that with students, but you can. Students can download hard copies too. So if they don't have internet at home, they can print out a copy, work on it at home, and then come back, which a lot of our students do on our campus too as well. So let me take a little tour through here. For a class list editor, this is where all my students are. So I got a couple admins in there too as well, but you can see my solid group of math students. I think they're going to be really strong with it. I'm not quite sure about how the time warp is working here because Isaac Newton is long gone, but Andrew Wiles is still with us. But that's okay. But if you ever want to change an individual due date for a student, say somebody got sick or had something come up and you want to move a due date for just one student, you do it here. Or if you have a student with, say, accessibility accommodations and you have quizzes that are running on WeBWorK, you can go in and change the individual student settings in here. So if they need the extra time or accommodations in there, you can do that too as well. For the homework steps editor, this is where you go if you want to change something for course-wide, for all your students' due dates in there. But one thing that I do want to show you too is I got a lot of stuff in here just because I like a lot of stuff. But if I wanted to say change the type of homework set, these are all just homeworks right now, but But you also have options for a gateway or a quiz, which those are timed, or you can have a proctored gateway or quiz. So if you wanted students to go into the testing center and take an exam on WeBWorK, say you had an online class and they're coming in for that, you can do that too as well, or just in time, which provides some adaptive learning. So if I change this to a gateway or quiz, you can see I have a lot more options for what I can do with that. So if you wanted to mastery exams, say you want students only be able to try one version every 24 hours, you can set all that up through here too as well. So the amount of options and control I have in this as an instructor really makes me happy, personally. Library browser, I mentioned that there's over 30,000 problems available on this thing. This is where you'd want to go to find them. So let's say, you can see it's not broken down by any textbook because it's not attached to any textbook. You can use it with whatever textbook you want. Let's say I wanted to work on calculus, and let's say it was differentiation, and let's say, oh, I don't know, how about the quotient rule with trigonometric functions? You can take a view of those problems, and once they load, you just take too long. You can scroll through and kind of see what you got. But one thing I really like is you can see that there's data on how many people have tried it, what's the rough number of attempts it took students, what percentage of them got through with it. You can see quite a bit of data for, are these hard questions for students, are these easy questions for students, but it's all right there at your fingertips, all 30,000 of those problems. I like to look at statistics for my students as well. You can look at it by student or by sections. Let's say I wanted to take a peek at how my algebra section is going. So I can see that for my active student, so a student who hasn't tried a question won't be in here, and you want it that way because you are also assigned things, so I don't want my non-activity in my class to affect my data. So you can see it looks like these questions are a little harder. I can see roughly the number of times it took them, so it looks like, you know, question number 4 and number 2 might be ones that I want to revisit in class, so I can really tailor my approach to the class the next day for where my entire course is sitting with their progress too as well. Individual student progress, or say if I wanted to look at individually the entire class, I could see, okay, sweet. Annie's on her game, she's got it. Isaac's on it. Looks like Godfrey, he might be a little bit. Carl is probably, you know, working on it, but I'm really concerned about Andrew at this point because he has tried questions a whole bunch. These numbers down here tell you how many times they've tried it incorrectly, and then the top one here is what percent of the question they have. So green 100%, they're good. So I can really touch base with individual students as well. If you look at it by student, you can see too as well kind of how they're doing. So I'm still very concerned about Andrew at that time because it looks like he hasn't even opened calculus yet. So that's important. So I can look through all that stuff. Scoring tools, depending on how you want to maybe download the gradebook. Email, I can email all my students from here, which I really like. File manager is where all the structure files of the course are. So the setup, which options did you choose, and then if you code any questions, that's where you can put your problem files too as well in there. Course configuration things, again, you can change whatever you want. This is where you change the theme. This is where you change your time zone. This is where you can set kind of default stuff. Optional modules, this is where you can turn on the show me another and decide, do they get to see it right away? How many times can they use it? And then what are they going to see when they use it? Do you want them to see solutions? Do you want them to see the answer? Do you want them to be able to check their answer? You have a lot of flexibility in there. Do you want to re-randomize the problems every once in a while? Maybe say every 5 tries. If you want them to get a new version of the question, you can do that in here as well. Other things in here is how it displays. This is why it's a nice accessible program because it outputs snapjacks. And then that math view editor that I had kind of clicked on, you can either turn that on or off in here. And then as well, just so you know, LOG and LN are both E to start with. Unless you change that, the LOG is true. It's in there as well. But those are the types of things you can kind of look at in there. So one thing I wanted to show you too real quick, I mentioned that you can code questions, which you can. So I wanted to give you a peek kind of at what one of those questions looks like. Which one? How about this guy right here? So as an instructor, I have an edit button. If I click the edit button, I'll then see the code for the question. So this is one of the questions I wrote that we did push our questions to the Open Problem Library and WeBWorK. So they're not quite on there yet because they're still going through them to upload them. But if you get to the GitHub, you can access all the questions that Red Rocks and CCD have written together for algebra and trigonometry, all paired to the OpenStack stack. Wait, just algebra. I haven't uploaded the trigonometry yet, but I will. I'll get there. I promise. But it's written in PGML, which is a language unique to WeBWorK. It's based on top of Perl, and then it's a problem generator markup language, if I'm thinking in the correct order, so you can see that it knows things like formulas and functions and points, which are all mathematical type things, so it has what's called math objects in them, so it understands the math better than I think other software systems do, and then it's nice and easy to work with as well. There are questions that are written in PG, which is the oldest version of them, and I learned everything I know about WeBWorK through the internet and the wiki, and talking to other people too as well. So I'll give you some links to that too as well. But that is pretty much the quick basic to tour, and then here I put in, there's a link to, they had problem authoring videos. It's about 16 hours of videos that the MAA held a workshop for how do you code problems in PGML, the newest and best language in it. And then there's also templates for every single type of question. Like, do you want your answer to be a point? Well, here's a template that you can start with and work with. So I'm not talking from scratch. If you've ever used LaTeX, it feels kind of like that. And then I don't start from scratch ever. I grab somebody else's code, I play around with it, and you can pull any question from the OPL too as well to start there and move on. So that's my tour, quick tour. Some other pros that I really, really like about this is I call it the bells and whistles installation, because it talks to our learning management system, which is, for us, it's D2L. So I want to show you what that looks like from the learning management side. It also, you can set it up to talk to Blackboard, Canvas, any of the major hitters too as well. So this is my old algebra class. So you can see that I just built the link in here for WeBWorK. So when I click it, it automatically creates my account. It automatically signs me in, and it automatically assigns everything that the instructor wants me to be assigned, and it automatically starts the grade path back to D2L. So they are completely linked systems if you set it up that way, and really helps a lot with like faculty buy-in. A lot of people, as soon as I had that bells and whistles installation going, they're like, yes, I want to use it. I don't have to create accounts for my students. It's all done automatically. So I really, really like that about WeBWorK too as well. I kind of mentioned already, it works with any textbook. So, I mean, with publishers, you're kind of stuck with whatever textbooks they have. But with WeBWorK, OER, you can use whatever you want. I've used it with Stewart in Calculus. I've used it in Larson in Calculus. I've used it in Algebra with a Bittinger textbook. And now we're using it with OpenStax textbooks. You can use it with whatever textbook you want. There are some textbook questions in there, like if you look for Stewart Calculus questions, there's a bunch in there. And I'm guessing over time, we're going to get more and more OpenStax textbooks. It's highly accessible for students. When we first started looking into this, we said, well, what's a VCAT? Is it accessible? Because that's the way the nation's moving. That's the right way we should be moving, so more students can access our material. And it is. It has one of the best VCATs I have ever seen, and they did that without having to be required to do that. They're a very inclusive product, and I appreciate that. You can use it in new and innovative custom courses because you can do whatever you want in it. So we use it in something called the STEM core model, which is our 4-credit DevEd course, which is paired with our 4-credit college algebra course, and we kind of merge the material right over one another, which would be really hard to do if you were using multiple texts and some other online software, but it was really easy for us to do. And so you can use it in innovative ways that you might not be able to do otherwise. You can use it beyond the classroom because it's not attached to necessarily any class if you don't want it to be. So you can use it in the tutor center. You can use it as a, like if students didn't do well in an exam, you can give them random stuff to work on. There was one time where I gave a student summer access to a calculus class. So they just want to practice calculus over the summer. So knock yourself out, go for it. So you can use it beyond the classroom too as well. I love, 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 love the WeBWorK community. Every single person in the WeBWorK community that I have reached out to and said, can you help me with this? What are your thoughts on that? They said, I would love to. Yes, because they're just a really welcoming group that says, I want all of us to help our students. Let's do that together. So I love the community with it. And I really love, too, that it's faculty working with faculty. We're all in the classroom with each other. And so we all have that same motivation and purpose, and we want the best for our students. So I really feel that is something that WeBWorK has too as well. So that's a quick, brief tour. Let me tell you a little bit more about how we're using it and how we see using it in the future, because I got a lot of ideas and a lot of vision. So here's what we're currently using at Red Rocks and the Community College of Denver, and an awesome puppy, because every presentation needs a puppy, I think. But you can see at Red Rocks that we have a real broad range of classes we have, and you can see, like I had mentioned, we're using it in our physics classes too as well. The faculty there uses it as he wants the students to know that they have the right answer, so when he's grading their big write-up about what they did, he can focus more on other things about the structure and the format. And he has a lot of other things he does for the students too as well, but that's the way we've been using it in physics. And then in our math classes, I'd say it helps me with the volume of how much students can do, but I still like to see how they write stuff down. You just have to grade less by hand, is what I like about it. And then you can see the Community College of Denver has a huge depth of the courses that they're using it in too as well. Some data. So I spent a lot of time digging into studies about OER and WeBWorK in general, and every single one I read showed that OER either maintains or improves student success rates. I couldn't find a single one that said it was harmful for student successful outcomes, which I think is important when you're trying to introduce something new. And those studies show that those improvements were even greater for minorities, so it really helps the equity gap if you focus on OER in general. At Red Rocks, we found the exact same thing has happened, the majority of which is that maintaining, but we've drastically reduced the cost. So I get emails every semester. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that you did this. My bank account, thank you. What a surprise when I went to the bookstore. I was like, I don't have to buy anything. This is great. And one thing I want to mention too is most of them are maintaining, which means I at least have one that was much better. So a STEM core class I talked about, we had about 50 to 60% pass rates in those courses respectively. And in this new format with those merging together, we have over 80% pass rates in those pilot courses we brought in. We're expanding in the fall, and I'm excited for that. I don't think WeBWorK is the only reason for that massive of a jump, but I think it was key in allowing that massive jump to happen because they have daily homework on WeBWorK. If you think about trying to give and grade daily homework for students, it's just not going to happen unless you have some sort of software helping with that. Future uses. I want to keep expanding the classes we use it in as far as number of sections as well as types of courses. We have it in algebra, trigonometry, and our calculus series right now, and right now we're also working on expanding down to our DAB level classes too as well. So we have some of those questions coded up. If you're interested in that too, let me know. As well as biology is coming online with us. They have a lot of students, and I wish they understood logs better when they came to biology. Technically, college algebra is a prereq, but I really need them to focus on that. So they want to build, and I'm going to help them build it with essentially these modules for those things that specifically in biology that they need that extra help with to help them. And it will be geared towards biology as opposed to just math in general in those logs. Mastery exams, we do this also as well. I found that our calculus students just weren't quite as, solid on some of the topics that I wanted, like USub and integration by parts, those important things. But WeBWorK has the ability, you can build these sets where, here's a whole bunch of USub questions, and you can tell a quiz to say, grab one from that one, grab one from a integration by parts question, one from here, and then it'll just regenerate new ones over and over and over and over and over again. If you've ever been a faculty that's done master exams, you know just the hand grading and the generating new ones is the hard part, so WeBWorK takes care of all of that for you. I want to go beyond the classroom more. I've been working with our tutor center. I want to build a whole bunch of things that says, if the student comes in and say they're in calculus, but the tutor's working with them, they say, hey, it looks like the exponent rules are kind of weak for you, so here is an assignment that you can work on it on WeBWorK that will really focus and hit all those things that they want to do as well. We use it in our concurrent enrollment courses as well, which is kind of beyond our classrooms as well. So I like that. You could build study materials. I want to do this with placement exams or CLEP tests to help our students get into the appropriate course right away, as opposed to finding out, well, I was actually ready, past this. Supplementary instruction, that's a big thing right now. You can use it in CoRec or STEM core model. We're currently doing the STEM core model. We have a couple pilots with CoRecs too as well. So it really helps in that CoRec section, the STEM core section, to help them with that material. And if you think about if you give an exam and you as an instructor sees, hey, you're in Calc 3, but your product rule is kind of weak, you can essentially assign individual homework steps to individual students to meet them right where they are at, as opposed to a blanket assignment to the entire class. So I'd like to dive more into that too as well. Adaptive learning, I mentioned this earlier. WeBWorK has something called, I can't remember what they call it, just-in-time problems, I think. I haven't had a chance to code these yet, but I know it has the ability where if you get a question wrong here, it will bump you down to what they call a child problem. And if you get that one wrong, it can bump you down to another one. And once you get that right, you can work your way back up. So it can adapt to where that student's need and level is at. And I think that would be incredibly helpful in, say, building this placement test or a placement exam at the system level, which I would really, really like to do one day, because then we can build exactly what we want and adapt to the students how they need it. And I think some other universities have done that too as well. So it's possible. It has the abilities. It has the capabilities. Just haven't gotten there yet. That's where we are headed and currently at. So if you're like, yes, WeBWorK sounds cool, I want it, here's the next part, is how can you, what are the hosting options for it? So my first suggestion is a pilot, and MAA will do a free pilot for you. When I did it about 6 years ago, they said you get one course for 1 year, that's up to 60 students. I don't see the up to 60 students on their website anymore, which is right here if you want to go check it out anymore, but they might have that size restriction too as well. What that does for you is it allows you to get a chance to really try it in a classroom with students to see what it's like, because you can speak more passionately about it. So for me, I did that. I was exposed to WeBWorK in my graduate school, and I saw what it could do for the students. I just saw these massive changes in abilities and, ownership of the course and these students. And so when I came to RedRox, I said, is this going to work for this student body? So I want to do a pilot, and I did, and I had 2 college algebra sections. One, I had them have WeBWorK, one I didn't. You can see the one that had it did 7% better. So you can take a wild guess how helpful that was for me when I was then going around to other people saying, hey, I have this little piece of data, it's not a big one, but indicates that this is going to work for our students. So it allows you to really see more closely to what it is, how it can work, and how it helps your student body. Then what do you do? Well, the MAA will host it for a fee if you want. I will say this is limited. Their website says, if you're a big institution, it's probably not the best choice for you. I've also heard some chatter around the proverbial water cooler of, you know, the MA may or may not do that in the future. I know plenty of faculty who currently use this option and love it because it doesn't have to involve any other folks on campus or IT. It's just they host it for you. I don't think you can set up the bells and whistles installation, so I think it's more of a kind of standalone thought, but this is the one that I know the least about because I've never used this one before. So here's a link for more information on that one if you want to dig into that one. But I do want you to know that currently that is an option for people. Or, here's what I did. You get it on your institution servers or system servers. So about 5 or 6 years ago, WeBWorK put it on our own servers. We have a great IT department. I love my IT department. That installation did not have any of the bells or whistles, which means I had to create accounts by hand. It was a standalone software. I had to push grades back by hand, which was fine by me. I didn't mind. The amount of time it saved me by hand grading was important, as well as just that I believed in what it could do for the students, and it allowed them to be a bit more active in their own education too as well. But now we have it on system servers. What I mean by system servers is the Colorado Community College system. There's about 16 community colleges in Colorado. 13 of them are part of CCCS. We have it on system servers, and 3 of us currently have access to it. It's WeBWorK, Community College of Denver, and CCC Online. I want to expand that more, so if anybody is on the line from CCCS, talk to me. We're working on it right now. They also have a great IT department. That installation has all the bells and whistles. What I mentioned has the automatic account creation, safe sign-on, automatic grade passback in multiple formats, however you want to do it. If you have more questions about that, let me know. I'd love to talk about it. But I do want to say that I still have full control to add students and instructors to any course. And the important part about that is if you ever have a student who, you know, adds a course late, it takes a couple of days for registrar and registration to get them into the box, into your course materials, and you don't want them to get behind. So I can just put a student in WeBWorK so they can get access right away. And as soon as they get access to D2L and click that link, those accounts merge and the automatic grade passback starts with that. So I really like that. And 2, what does that say? I can't see it. Oh, I can use it outside of any other courses too as well. So if I want to do stuff with the tutor center or anything else, it's a freestanding thing all by itself, even though it talks to D2L, so I can build anything that I want to. Also got to have a picture of a cat. So there's a picture of the cat for this one. One thing you should have on every campus and then in IT is a WeBWorK admin. I mentioned I was a WeBWorK admin for our campus. It's just a faculty that essentially, if you think about, somebody has to create that shell initially, like you get from your learning management system every semester, somebody will do a D2L shell or a Blackboard shell or a Canvas shell. That's what the WeBWorK admin does. So they create that initial shell for you, and then it's also training instructors. So I am training my entire staff on what is WeBWorK, how do you use it, how do you get it to talk to D2L. So the first semester, I mostly sit down with them and do it for them. And then the next semester is I have a whole bunch of documentation for how do you do all these things in WeBWorK, and I can send them the documentation and the link, and most instructors can do that by themselves. Besides the admin, I'd say for a regular faculty, it's that same level of work as publisher content, because you still have to go through and say, well, what do I want to use? What are the questions I want? Do I have quizzes? Do I want to have those? What's the kind of main structure for, say, our college algebra class? Some faculty is in charge of that in general, no matter what software platform you're doing. With the caveat that I will say, unless you want to build your own content from scratch, like the coding, but that's exactly what grants are for, which we chase after. So those are the grants that I kind of mentioned earlier that we chase after that. Here's a slide I want to put in here for what's the IT perspective. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but I will say when you go talk to your IT, they're going to ask what's it like to install it, what are the advantages of it, what are the challenges, what type of memory does it require, what are you running it on. So this is a slide for you guys to grab later that when you talk to your IT department, this is a starting place for the conversation for you guys with them as well. Okay, here's the main part I want to talk about. How do you actually get people to buy into that and to put it on your servers and to bring it to your campus, which I think is really the key part of this. So as far as your approach goes, first thing I'd say is have the audacity to ask. So when I came to WeBWorK in 2013, brand new faculty, never been anywhere before, I was like, I'm going to put WeBWorK on system servers. This is what I'm going to do. And to do that first, I'm going to ask WeBWorK. I'm going to put it on system servers. So I just asked. And if I had talked to faculty that had been there for 15, 20, 30 years, they would have looked at me like, that's never going to happen, Brenda. That's never going to happen. Like, I've gotten too many no's over my career. It's not going to happen. So that's what I mean by have the audacity to ask. Because if you don't ask, the answer is definitely no. I guarantee you're going to get a yes the first time. So have the audacity to ask. Don't have an attitude about it. Sometimes audacity can feel attitude-filled, but ask. And the other thing I want to say is think big. And it comes from a quote from one of my favorite quotes of all time. It's from Mort Utley, which is, when you think big, something always happens. So I mentioned when I came in, I was like, I'm going to get it on system servers. I'm going to write placement exams on it. I'm going to get the entire system to adjust the software they use as far as math faculty. And I'm going to get the entire system to say, yeah, this is the important thing for our faculty, which that's this big. I am not there yet, but I am about right here. And if I had thought about being right here, I only would have been right here instead. So that's what I mean by think big. Because if you think big, you're going to get that drive and that motivation to go really far, and you might not make it, but you'll make it further than you thought you could originally. Who do you ask? You got to know the right person to ask. So when you're talking to IT, before you go to IT, I'd say, think about who's that innovative person in your IT department. Ours was our assistant director. I won't name his name because he does not like any sort of recognition whatsoever, and I try to respect that, whether it's good or bad recognition. But he was innovative. And WeBWorK is based on a Linux platform. And he said, well, I don't know too much about Linux, but I think I can do it, so I'll try. And he hit it out of the park. So he took the time to do that for me, and I really, really appreciate it. If you don't know who the right person to ask is, ask the person who will know the right person to ask, because y'all have those people on your campus of like, I don't know everybody, but so-and-so knows that if you need this done, you got to talk to this person. If you need this other thing done, you got to talk to that other person. So for me coming in new, I just talked to my dean. I said, I want to do this. He did not laugh in my face, which I appreciate. But he said, you're going to need to talk to two people. One is this person in IT. He's real innovative. He's going to help you out. And then the other one is our person who's in charge of our learning management system. We call him our director of e-learning. And those are the two people to talk to. So my dean told me who were the right people to talk to. Get your leadership involved is my other big piece of advice. I mean, you can hear that I talked to my dean. I talked to IT. I talked to our learning management system people. I've also had face-to-face conversations with our vice president of instruction, our president of the college, our president of business services. So I've talked to all the people and set up meetings with them to talk to you about WeBWorK and what I want to do with it. The reason for this is if you can think about how WeBWorK will tie into what the leadership wants to accomplish, you've just given them a huge reason to support you on this. Is it because you're working on guided pathways? Is it because you guys are working on, redesigning dev ed, or is it because you're trying to focus on, improving pass rates in certain areas, or making sure the pass rates go up so that those gateway courses that are stopping people from getting their degrees, this can be a tool to help them. If you can tie it into what they want to accomplish, they're already running in the same direction you are, and will run with you to help you with that. So think about that. As far as those conversations go, make sure it's appropriate for your campus. So I have a really warm, friendly, welcoming campus. The president knows me by name. My vice president of instruction knows me by name. They stop and talk to me in the hall. But keep it appropriate for your campus. I've definitely been at campuses where it would be a big, huge no-no to go talk to the, vice president of instruction, just face-to-face, hey, in the hallway. So whatever that is appropriate for your campus, as many of the people as you feel appropriate to talk to, do. These have to be face-to-face conversations. You will get a no if it's an email. You will get a no if it's just a submission to, an IT request that will you help me with this project. If you don't talk to them face to face, the answer is definitely going to be no. So I did a ton of legwork and a ton of talking to people. Talk to them face to face. It's harder to tell somebody no when they're staring at you. So use that to your advantage. Who else? Get the other faculty in your department or another department, maybe it's physics, maybe it's biology, to buy into this thought too as well in the projects that they want to accomplish. IT leadership are so less likely to support one rogue faculty. I've heard it from IT departments that have said no before. Be like, well, we did this, another year, but it's just for one or two faculty. And then when they got uninterested in it, it just, went away and it was a whole bunch of work for nothing. IT is a lot on their plate. So if you can give them a reason why a whole bunch of us are involved, or if you get leadership involved to then earmark enough of IT's time that this is the direction, the mission that we're headed on, so that IT isn't overworked, you're much more likely to get it to go. So the more people you get to buy in, the better. Get other institutions involved. So I got told no. I've been told no before at the system level for the first time. It was on RedRock servers, and I went to the system. I said, hey, can we put it on system servers? They said, nope, nobody, nope, nope. And I said, okay, cool, thanks for your time. And I thought, okay, why did they say no? Well, probably because it was one institution in the system that was still in pilot mode, so to speak. So I thought about, okay, if I get more buying in my department, at my institution, and then two as well, if another institution would be interested in it, that would work. And that's exactly what happened. Down the road, CCD reached out to me and said, hey, I see you use WeBWorK. What do you think? We talked about it. Their IT told them no, understandably. IT is very, very busy. And so we said, well, let's go to the system level. So then when we had two institutions involved, then CCC Online got involved with 3 institutions involved and a whole bunch of leadership involved. We got the yes we were looking for at that time. So get more people involved if you get a no. And when you get that no, be solutions focused. So I could have taken that no 4 years ago and said, oh, they said no, it's never going to happen. But I chose instead to think about, well, why did I get the no? And it was because they didn't have the time and they didn't think it was a big enough project. And those are very, very understandable reasons. And so I thought about, okay, if I can get another institution involved, it was CCD at that point, then it's much more likely to go. So look for the yes. I now say, yeah, I've been told no, but it's never been a hard no. It's just been a no that told me what are the bounds and the parameters for what I can or cannot do and the hurdles that I can help us get over to get to that yes. What do you need? You can get a grant if you need it. So we had the Colorado Community College System a couple years ago said we're going to earmark $3 million, I think it was, for grants around the system for what you want. So we submitted a grant with 3 institutions together for that to help with things that we may have needed. If you need a server, you can purchase a server for that. We didn't, but you can with the grant. Or other hardware and software needs. For us, like at Red Rocks, we bought a wildcard cert so we can adjust our URLs. So you can build in those types of things to a grant. So there's less on your institution financially. It gets everybody on board, all on the same page and vision. If you've ever applied for a grant, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, you need every single signature probably on this side of the planet. So you need your leadership, you need the grant office, you need business services. So it helps with that unifying that vision, the mission, and getting everybody pointed in the same direction too as well. So grants are really, really helpful for that, I think. As far as your attitude goes, my biggest suggestion I think out of all this is have passion and conviction. So do that pilot to get some personal experience, because when I saw that happen with my students, I just became so enthusiastic and so bought in and believe what this can do for our students, because everybody on your campus wants what's best for the students. They want more students to pass. Everybody does. And so if you can speak to that one with your own personal experience and compassion and conviction, it really, really helps. I dug through OER studies a lot. That helped me get my passion and conviction up too as well. This can be highly, highly persuasive, that alone. So when we filled out that system innovation grant, it was the idea, but we had a whole bunch of people that helped put that together. And I looked through the list of names and all the signatures, and I thought, out of all these people, and there were a lot, it took a lot of people to make it happen, I was the only one who had ever actually used WeBWorK in a classroom. So that passion and conviction can really help convince a lot of other people that it is that important. It matters that much. And I remember when the system IT said, yeah, we'll do it, because they got enough of their time earmarked for it so that they weren't overworked, which I really appreciate about them. I went and talked to them face to face. I was on their campus for some other reason. I started talking about it. You could just see in their face. They had already been part of the plan. They had already bought in. But you could just see as I talked about it and what it could do for the students and how much I believed in it, their demeanor even shifted more to, yeah, this is really, really, really important. It makes a ton of sense why we're doing this. So have that passion and conviction. I left a meeting the other day, and somebody looked at me and said, I think you say WeBWorK in every meeting that you are in. And I laughed because I thought about it, and they were right. Now, I'm not just randomly sitting in the corner screaming WeBWorK for no good reason, but for example, we were talking about STEM course in another institution the other day, and I said, yeah, we use WeBWorK in that course because it allows us to do daily homework that really helps the students with that. So it takes a lot of time to get everybody on campus to know what in the world you're up to. I think as faculty, we sometimes get our head buried in the sand a little of, I'm doing these amazing things, these students are seeing it, a couple of my colleagues see it. Everybody has to know what I'm up to. Of course they do. How could they not know? Well, they don't. They just don't. They're busy with their own things, and there's a lot of silos in higher ed institutions no matter how hard you try to avoid those. So that's why I say it in every meeting I'm in, because it helps other people hear what I'm up to and hear what other people that are using it are up to too as well, to help with that buy-in and what we're doing. And have patience. Like I said, I've been at Red Rocks since 2013. I came in the door with this goal in mind, and this is where I'm at now. It's taken me a while to get here with a lot of help from a lot of people. It wouldn't have been possible without them. But if I would have gotten that no and just been super frustrated and tried to fix it right away, it probably wouldn't have gone ever. So it took probably about a year and a half until CCD reached out to me, and I went, that's my key, that's it right there, that's the other institution. So it doesn't always happen right away. This has also changed. Like I said, I was trying to change things at the system level. I still am. That's asking people to change, and that's hard for some people. It's hard for everybody, I think, but really hard for some people. So just giving them time to adjust to that change is helpful. So have patience with it. It's not going to happen overnight. Show gratitude along the way. I really think nothing great is accomplished by one person, but I can think it can start with just one person. And that's kind of what I meant by that grant. I was the only one who used it, so I think it started with that, but it took so many more people to also buy in and have the interest. And, CCD reached out to me, I didn't reach out to them. So it takes a lot of people. So here's my current list of people that I do my best to show gratitude to. Every time I have to reach out to IT now with like, hey, there's this one bug. Thank you so much for your help. I really appreciate it. You're always so fast and quick at adjusting it and changing it, and I really appreciate all that you do. And I've done that with people. I mean, all the grants I've worked on, I go down to business services. Those people never get thanked. And so you walk in and say, hey, thank you so much for helping me with all these timesheets and these grant time and effort forms. I really, really appreciate it. And this is a small list. There's some individuals in there too as well, but you can see I have big chunks of people like the CCD faculty, all the tutors that help me down in the math lab with this, all the students as well. So show gratitude where you're going. People want to help people who make it feel like their work is valued. So make those people feel like what they did was valuable, because it was, and nobody gets thanked enough for what they do, I think. So show that gratitude when you can. In closing, I talk fast, but we want to pay it forward. We're part of the WeBWorK community. We want to help, but our IT department is incredibly busy. So if you want to talk to our IT department, let's coordinate. Reach out to me, please, so we can kind of figure out what that would look like. You can contact me like crazy. Send me a whole bunch of emails. I love emails, sort of. But I love emails about WeBWorK and how to talk about them. So feel free to email me with anything. I'm happy to give you access to a sandbox of ours that you can play around with, goof off in. Just figure out what it's like and what you want to do with WeBWorK. And I will see you guys at the OER conference May 31st in Denver. I'll be there talking about WeBWorK again, because again, anywhere I am, I talk about WeBWorK, so everybody knows about it. So thank you again for your time today. I really appreciate all your help and support in OER. I told Spencer when he invited me to this, I said he was enabling me, because my goal is always to expand my WeBWorK community, because the more we build together, the more we can build faster and help more students. So thank you guys so much for your time today. I appreciate it. Do we have questions?
Yeah, we have time for questions. I just wanted to say thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Your enthusiasm is part of why this is super exciting.
Right.
So thank you for bringing the enthusiasm and the
Passion and
expertise.
conviction.
Exactly, yes. And we want to show gratitude to you by thanking you. So thank you. And are there any questions floating around out there? You can send them through on chat, or feel free to pipe up. Just remember to unmute your microphone.
That's either really good or really bad.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know it.
Hi, Brenda.
So as
Oh,
go ahead.
Brenda, this is Carol Cooper from MCC.
Hey, Carol.
Hi. You said that you have this on the system server. Do you know off the top of your head how MCC could get access to that? Do we have to go through MAA and do the whole formal, we want to download it to our server, or can, since it's
No. So
system
my
access,
goal
can we go directly to them?
Yeah, so anybody in the Colorado Community College system should talk directly to me. I've been working with Landon Purius at the system level, because he wants to support this expansion too as well. So I'm also talking with their IT. They're figuring out what resources they need. Is it more server space? Is it another staff member of what they need? So hopefully we'll be able to find at the system level those extra resources to bring on colleges like yours, because I definitely want to, again, for the same reason of let's get everybody access so we can build more together and we can share more together. So talk with me, send me another email, and I'll let Landon know that you guys are definitely interested and want to be top of the list for next institutions.
Yes. MCC is definitely very, very interested in bringing this to our campus. So I will definitely email you about getting on board with that. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thanks, Carol.
We have a couple of other questions coming through on the chat. So one is, do you know of anyone that has gone with WeBWorks for intro statistics? That's where I'm headed.
There are some statistic questions on the OPL. There's not a ton. We're not there yet, but that is definitely in my roadmap of where I want to head and build more questions. So there are some available. So if you want access to Sandbox, let me know so you can kind of play around with what they have available. And then you can also kind of take a look at what it would take to code more, and we can work together and build them together.
Great offer. And then another question coming through. Can you talk about the number of full-time equivalent people you need in an ongoing way? You, half of your time on an admin role. How about for IT?
So the first grant we did was the Systems Innovation Grant, and I got a 5-credit release, which for me, that's a third of my load release to kind of help with the initial implementation for that. The other grants were over the summer. Our faculty are not required to work in the summer, so everything we do over the summer is overload, so we paid individual time to work and WeBWorK admin as part of my service as my standard faculty contract. So depending on how big you go, you may want different things. I know at CCD they have about a 3 or 4 credit person who is kind of the admin for their campus. So I'd say part, I don't even think it's half time if you just want to manage that stuff. If you want to keep creating, that can be more than that. For IT, on our servers, it was 1 person, and it was just about this much, small part of his load, and I'd have to ask our IT at the system level because I know we had 4 people that worked on it for that initial big installation, bells and whistles, but I think it's part of their ongoing load now, and I'm not quite sure how much of their portion is, but if you email me, I can talk to our IT and figure out what their load is now for that. Excellent.
Yep. Do you want to?
Yeah, sure. You mentioned Desmos for graphing it. It wasn't clear if that was something that comes with WeBWorK or something you added in. So we added it in. It comes with it, so to speak, in the sense that there are some questions, I bet, on the Open Problem Library that have that, but it's just a couple lines of code that if there's a question in the OPL that you want, you can embed that code into whatever question you're looking at, and then any question you want will have that embedded into the question for you. Something I added, sort of, but it already existed, so to speak, in the sense that there are certain things that it can play with. You can also embed Python code into it and compile. I haven't had a chance to play with that yet, but I'm really excited about trying that one too as well. So this community is global, it's big nationwide, and there are individual people at certain campuses that I think is either part of their load or the MAA funds that they're still building and creating, like the actual software designers who like the language, or other faculty on campus that do grants like I do for they build these new and innovative kind of wikis or other things that you can embed into the question. So somewhere in the middle of, I think it came with it or I added it. Hopefully that answered your question though too as well. Send me an email if it didn't. Thanks, you're welcome. Let's make a stack community. Maybe the CDHE can help host, organize. I love that idea. Spencer's writing notes right now, so I think he's writing that down.
Yeah, that is certainly something that we'd love to help facilitate, is a community of learning, obviously. And the other thing that I'll mention too is we granted $550,000 worth of OER grants this first year. That'll kick up to $1 million worth of available funds for next year, and this would make a fantastic grant project or proposal. So please consider applying next year. We'll have information on our website, and I'm happy to share that with folks, or we'll get that out to Brenda, and you can kind of share that as well. But that's for the next 2 years. So $2 million in the next 2 years coming up for these particular projects. I'd love the stories that you shared, some of the narrative that you shared around some of the students thanking you and saying, hey, my bank account thanks you as well. I mean, it's kind of really compelling for kind of the narrative portion. And then the impact that it had on student success, I mean, that's something that you're witnessing. We can look at these national studies, but I think the state legislature is very excited to see that impact here in our state as well. So are there other questions? We do have, the other thing I was going to mention is the OER conference on May 31st. So you all are welcome to attend. The RSVP is currently open. We'll have some local presenters, some national presenters, and some workshops, strategies, approaches. So kind of covering the whole OER movement here in Colorado. If you all think you have a compelling story to tell, you can also let me know, because we want to do some information sharing, obviously, at that time too.
Is that one free? Did I read that one right?
Yes, so that is covered by part of the OER initiative. So your breakfast and your lunch will be covered. There's no registration fee. And we'll be bringing in some special speakers, like I mentioned, so a little bit of funds to help support those speakers coming in, some of those experts. Actually, we just confirmed our keynote speaker, and that will be Nicole Finkbeiner from OpenStax. So awesome. Yeah, so get the word out about that. We'll be rolling out more information, but the RSVP is currently open. Other questions? No. Okay, well, we will make sure that this information is shared. For those of you who'd like to share this presentation with others, we did record it, so we will make sure that video is available for others to watch as well if you want to kind of read back into this. And thank you all for attending, and thank you so much, Brenda, for sharing your passion.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate the time.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.